Should be a little bit better. So I have heard a lot of people say a lot of different things about damaging builds and the new sets that have the the buff Gate to the Void, which says increases damage dealt to enemies and decreases damage received from enemies. All parameters decreased minus 3,000. So heard a lot of information about this. Not really accurate stuff. Like some people say, oh, it's 10% or 20% or 25% or 30%, and the number just keeps seeming to get inflated by one specific person who's a newer player that may or may not have the facts. So here's what we're trying to test today. We're going to test two things. How much Gate to the Void actually increases your damage. Damage reduction is nice. I'm not as concerned about that. My current build isn't really meant to maximize anything. It's my 11-1 build, but I've removed some pieces. So there you go for that if you want to build a mage for 11-1. Here's a introductory build for it. Yeah, and no defensive pieces on the armor. Surprisingly, I can handle even death with this setup, but that's besides the point. So we're going to test Gate to the Void to see how much damage it does, and we're also going to test Counter level 3 on the shield, Iron Rock shield, and see how that plays out with the Super Regeneration bonus on this helmet, Hydra Superior Head, which says inflicts more damage for 3 seconds after receiving damage. So it has a counter buff built in. It also has a higher HP recovery too, which is nice. So what I think is those buffs, since they're not worded the same way, might stack multiplicatively. Meaning, let's say counter increases your damage by 40%, and let's say the or super regeneration increases your damage by another 40%, that it would multiply. 40, that. So instead of it giving you an 80% increase, it would give you 40% and then 40 on top of that. Hold on. So if your base damage was 1 million, the first one would increase it to 1.4. And then the second one, if it's working the way I'm thinking, that times, I got an Excel document open, it'd be 96% more damage, not 80%. But we don't know that yet. So first things first, let's do a baseline test. I don't have much of any kind of special gear on for this particular mission. Just damage up versus elemental weakness and shock pressure. So these undeadlies should not be taking a whole bunch of damage. I mean, they will, because I got a lot of nice stuff, but that's besides the point. So my magic attack right now is at 17,870, and that's what I'm going to keep it at when I put on the new pieces of gear, the shield, and I got a helmet already set up to test so that my magic attack doesn't go down by 3,000, it stays the same. Oh, and I love this kind of stuff. This is what I like about games. So, okay. 444, 444, 475, 449, 471, 457, 453. I'm not counting the shock numbers. 1, 5. Just trying to get a range. 462. I could do an average, but I want to get a lot of numbers for an average, like 100 damage numbers, and I'm not sure I want to do 100 damage numbers of every type. So the highest one that we saw then was 475, and the lowest is 444. We're going to play that one more time. I just want to know all the damage values Because if I know all the damage values, then I can figure out, okay, well, how the damage is multiplying, this is the new number. Like, if we see the counter buff go off and the damage goes up to 794,000, then I can plug it in and say, okay, well, that's the low number. And then figuring out what the low number is gives me mathematically all the information I need to figure out what the high number is, since I can put in formulas to calculate the difference in variance of how much damage we're actually doing. And it's more than likely some of these numbers are outliers anyways. 444, 466, 479, that's a new one. Put that down. 469. And there was a 466. 453. 453. 528. Put that down, but I might have hit him from behind on that one. I think that's the case. 449. 449, 462, 479, 440, so we have a new low. 528, now that little guy is just getting zapped harder. So maybe 528 is the actual cap. That's kind of a big disparity, like a lot of different values that we can have. I still haven't done the math to figure out if the damage is based off of your max damage and then it's added to that, or if it's decreased. Like, let's say we have 10 million magic attack and my basic attack could do from 1 million up to 1.25. So that would probably be some sort of damage roll, like between 1 and 1.25 versus doing between 0.875 and 1. Mathematically, it makes more sense if you see it on paper. So we're doing one more test to see the baseline damage. We have ranges of 440 as the minimum and 528 as the maximum. After this, we're going to test out the gate to the void, keeping our magic attack the same. And hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. Alright, 440, 462, 440. We're not seeing any new numbers so far. 528, that was before. And I hit a different enemy for that amount this time. 457, gotta put that one down. 457, 440. Okay, so we have all the different values. 457 is the last one I was missing. Alright, next up, Gate to the Void. So my magic attack is 17,870, so that's what we want to keep it at. Now I put magic attack level 9 on, so that's 1500 there. And then the exoskeletal helmet has the other 1500 we need. The shooter buff doesn't influence my damage, it just reduces the AP consumption of magic shot, not boosting the actual damage. So that's not going to interfere with what we're doing here. And a little bit more AP recovery is nice. So again, same magic attack, but now we have the Gate to the Void buff. So there were 11 possible values that we could get, anywhere between 440 and 528. And 528 is a significantly higher number. So for people trying to do max hits, that means you have, not based on total probability to get the highest number, but you have a 1 in 11 chance, just flat, to hit a new max damage. So that's 583, 572, 618. I'm typing all these down as we go, so I'm sorry if it's not super fast. 578. I missed that one. 595. 589. 583. 601. So these are obviously a lot higher than before. Like, there is a significant boost to the damage. 572. That's the one I already got. Okay. So I gotta put these in order now. Thankfully, Excel will do this all for me. Let's do that one again. I need more numbers because I don't have enough data. So it ranged from 572 to 618 that time around. If 572 is the new minimum, that means the gate to the void increased my damage by, give me a second to do the math, because my computer's being wonky. A 30% bonus, if it is the same. Which means that certain people that I heard online were correct about it being 30%. We don't know yet. Let's continue. 612. That's a new one. $623. All right. This divided by that. So it seems pretty nice to have that buff, but what would happen if we could have 2? Would it continue to stack and give an extra 30% damage, or would it multiply and give us 30 and then 30 on top of that? So let's rework this. I have Intensify Magic Attack level 2. I kind of need the accessory on because that gives me a large boost. So let's switch out the helmet, put a Magic Attack level 9 on that, and then put a Magic Attack level 9 on my body armor so we don't lose any. Oh, there it is. Whoop, there it is. Whoop, there it is. Sorry, you gotta put up with me too if you want to see the math. Smithy. Alright, so that's... Actually, no, this offset the other magic attack, so I need to get a third one on somehow. I can put on my weapon. Since it's not really doing anything else. That way I can continue testing when things get shocked. I think I might have to take another magic attack off of somewhere else though. I don't... Yeah, see, I only have one. 17,870. That's what my magic attack has to be after all this. That's not the one I'm using right now. Actually, no, that is the one I'm using right now. Sorry, all my nice other pieces of armor sets. So you can already see how this is kind of messing up builds. Trying to put on buffs just to offset the damage minus is not cool. Much less the additional armor that I'm losing. Minus 3,000 to everything is not easy to compensate for. Alright, character settings. No, my magic attack is still lower. So I need... Oh, that's right, because my body armor. Which means then I have to rip off another Magic Tech 9 from somewhere else. I'm glad I have pieces that have Intensify Magic Attack level 2, or else I wouldn't be able to test the second item. Goodbye, healing item boost. It's not even that effective by itself. I guess if you stacked it with the Alchemist helmet, it would be good. Alright. So I never did hit the max hit from the last one. Based on the calculations, let me get it all into place. So it wasn't a solid 30% for everything. Mathematically, it kind of varied a little bit. It went up from 1.3 down to 1.298. So yes, with rounding, it's a 30% bonus damage, but based on these calculations, it should have been, equals that times 1.3, it should have been 686k for the max hit. And just to give you an idea of how powerful that is, it's 20% higher than the lowest hit of 572. And, let's see, not including the max hit, and assuming I have all the numbers accurately correct, or accurately recorded, the average is 597.7. So, divided by that, it's almost 15% higher than the average damage. So it's a pretty high amount that you can potentially hit, but aren't guaranteed to hit. So 17,870. All right. Everything else is just shooting down real fast. I feel like I need to bump up the difficulty soon. I mean, I'm one-shotting him anyways, but... So let me do some quick preliminary math and see. If these stack multiplicatively, meaning 30% on top of 30%, then equals that times 1.3. The new low damage should be 743, rounded up 744. We don't know if that's the actual damage or not, but that's if they stack multiplying on top of each other. If they don't, it'll definitely be less. The new max damage could be up to 892, which is almost double the original amount. Oops. Seriously? Alright, 774. Oh, sorry, 744. Or 766. 759. 703. So these numbers are the ones that I extrapolated data and inferred we could hit. 759, 744. So based on this information, these pieces multiply. So, okay, mathematically, Gate to the Void one piece gives 30% more damage. So if we added, it would give us 60% damage for the second one. Now my previous base hit was 440k. So if we took 440k and multiplied it by 1.6, that would mean our new base damage, lowest hit, would be 704k. However, if we take the 30% bonus from one of them, which went up to 572, and then we multiply that by another 30%, it brings us up to 744, which is our new lowest hit, based on not really doing enough testing to see if that is the true lowest hit or not. So I need to run this a couple more times just to make sure. But if that's the case, then a 1 million hit would gain a 30% damage bonus, and then the second one would be 6.9. And if you could continue building it, the last one would be about 2.2 times damage. So it's 2.197. So you could essentially a little bit more than double your damage with 3 of these pieces, maintaining the same magic attack and losing pretty much all defense. That's not including buffs like counter or the Super Regeneration helmet if they would stack. So let's go back to recording some more numbers so we can have a little bit better data. It's a pretty significant bonus. I didn't think that they would stack multiplicatively. But the problem is, see, like, you lose all defense. You have to choose, do I want to boost my defense as much as possible with this kind of build? Or do I want to hit as hard as possible? Most people are going to go for option B. 788. 788. 796. So we should be able to see an 803. And we should also be able to see an 810 and an 892. There's an 811. See, due to rounding, it was a little off. 766, 773. I bet if I put together a spreadsheet overall from this entire video, knowing what the minimum damage values are and the maximum damage, and literally just plotted every single hit where it fell in the range, you'd probably see the maximum possible damage in like the 2 to 5% range, meaning out of every it would be like every 20 hits you'd hit a max damage, all the way down to like every 50 hits. So people trying to hit a new cap will have to play the same mission over and over and over and over and over again. Try to max. Like true max. Okay, there's the 803. So we hit 803, 811, so let's see if we can get an 892. If we can, that means the other calculations I did were correct, and it is possible to get a very high max damage. If they quit damage decreasing by running. So far, no go. This is the only part I don't like about this. Those guys right there. I'm glad that my rounding was wrong in one of these instances, but it just goes to show all the math isn't really as precise. Like, it could have been a difference in rounding from the previous level, and then that integer got multiplied and bumped it up by 1. I also want to test out if Stun Crusher does better damage than Snowman. That's going to be a little bit more difficult to test. 766. Oh, I didn't see it. Nada. Oh yay, there's one left. I can leave without it having to block me. So I don't know if the 528, if something else influenced that, or if it is just hard to hit that high, because we only saw it a couple times the first go around. I'm still amazed that this buff multiplies. It'll be fun testing out some other combinations. So let's assume you had a whole 4-piece set, because 5 pieces isn't really... You wouldn't want to use 5 pieces, because then you lose off a multiplicative buff on your weapon, which is, you know, like damage up versus elemental weakness or something like that. That is simply going to probably outclass this forever. 893. There you go. There's the proof in the pudding. I called 892 because of rounding. It was 893. It was a really low number. Like a chance to get that. Hello, sweetheart. I'm streaming right now, so it's alright. Alright, so now that we have damage variables, and we know the damage could be between anywhere of 1x, we're just going to assume the lowest damage number is some sort of integer based off of your magic attack. So 1x. Actually, you know what? Since we know what my magic attack is, I can figure out how much of a bonus I'm getting for magic shot. So 17,870. 17,870 equals this divided by that. So if there's a direct correlation, that means magic attack is doing well, actually, never mind. I can't say that because I have a damage bonus on my weapon. Damage up versus elemental weakness. We just know that the lowest value is 20% weaker than the highest value. Let me put that somewhere in my spreadsheet. Less. And just to prove the math, we know we have 440k is the lowest, 528 is the highest from the first round, and 528 divided by 440 is a solid 1.2. Our second round, 686 was the highest, and 572 was the lowest, and that's 20% as well. And from our actual damage values that we got, 893 was the highest, 744 was the lowest, and that's 1.2. So, okay, so now we know it's between 1 and 1.2 for the base attack. So, okay, back to what I was saying before. Let's say you're hitting for 1,000,000 damage. One piece will boost it up to 1.3. 2 pieces boosted it up to 1.69. 3 pieces boosted up to 2.197, so 2.2 times the damage. And if you had 4, let's see, 2.859, so almost triple damage if you had 4 pieces of this set. I suppose if you didn't have a good 4th buff on your weapon, you could put this on your weapon, especially since the base damage might be a little bit higher. Let's go check it real quick. So the max damage on this is actually not that good. 11k is even lower than... Yeah, see, 950. If seeing these damage numbers that low, it makes me feel like they're going to add an awakening for it. Because 1143, 11,000 is actually really low. Let's see. Character settings. My Galactic Rift row is, there it is, 12,747. See? So having the minus 3,000, oh, actually, I didn't take that into consideration. Yeah, with the minus 3,000, those weapons are beast, because it means it'd be 14k base attack. Never mind. But still, it's lower because it loses 3,000 attack, and you lose off a 1 buff slot. So let's say I was trying to fight demons right now. I'd be able to multiply all 4 of those. So the question would be, out of those, are any of them weaker than plus 30% damage? Let's say ambush attack only gave me 20% more damage from hitting from behind. Then the new weapon would be stronger. But I know ambush attack is actually higher than that, so all of the buffs on a weapon have to be there. So you can't lose one to Gate to the Void. You'd have to use a full 4-piece. And then we don't know how much of a damage reduction having lower attack would do. Like, is losing the 3000 magic attack gonna affect me by a huge percent? Or is it like really not that noticeable? So, in the spirit of more testing, let's find out. How much is losing 3000 magic attack gonna hurt? First of all, let's take it off my weapon because it annoys me having a buff like that on my weapon. Then, let's take it off of my helmet because I'm not going to use this helmet anymore. I mean, I'm going to leave it on for this, but I'm not going to have it on ever again after this. Store request, store request. So, whoops. 14,870, we have dropped 3000 magic attack, or the equivalent of equipping one of these pieces. Let's find out the new numbers. And while we're doing that, let's do one more little bit of math. If we had the full 5-piece set, if we decided, okay, the 5th piece, I don't have any better attack buffs, let's just toss it on and see what will happen. It would multiply your damage by 3.7. So, if you're theoretically your maximum was a 10 billion hit, you could get it up to 37 bill just by stacking this set with 5 pieces. But that's theoretical. It's also minus 15,000 magic attack. Alright. 644, 19, 31, 25, 44. So already we're seeing a pretty significant damage drop from what we were doing the first time around to this. 656, 31, 619, 625. So losing the 3000 magic attack, the equivalent of adding one of these pieces, let's see. So we know they stack multiplicatively with 30% more damage. If you just equip this new piece, actually, let me back up. I got part of the math right, but part of the math is not lined up. $619 we saw a couple times. It's probably the lowest. $625, $631, $644, $637. So I don't really know where all these values sit within my range right now, because I don't know if 619 is the true lowest number. But if that's the case, without compensating for the loss of magic attack, it was only an 8% increase in damage, 1.082, instead of it being 30%, which is huge. So really the damage reduction from losing the 3000 magic attack is more statistically significant than I had previously thought it would be. I knew it would go down, I just didn't know it would be that much. Let's get some more numbers, see if I can get a max hit on here. Based on this information, I can assume the new max hit, if 619 is the lowest, is going to be 742.8, so 743. That's potentially what it would be. Now that's funny, because when we had the 3000 magic attack, that putting on the extra piece offset, the lowest damage for having two pieces was 744. So this is potentially 1 point of damage less 662, that's new. I don't know if I'm getting smacked or not, but sorry if I am. 19, I think I saw 675. Oops. 637. 631. 637. 75, yeah. 668. 619. That should be enough. That divided by this. So yeah, it looks like 668 is the second highest damage value. I'm going to do another test because I'm missing 2 numbers from this test. And I actually didn't get 2 of the data points from the having the full 3000 magic attack from the 2 pieces equipped. I inferred it based on the math, and everything checks out so far 100%, but it's still nice to say, okay, yeah, I tested 100% of the values so people don't question the data. So I'm looking for a number between 644 and 656. And I'm looking for a number higher than 668. 625, 31, 44, 19, 25, 13, hike! He's turned around, so that's... No, it didn't actually give me your bad data. 644. 743, there you go! I called it. 743k. 656 and 631. It does not let me skip the cutscene. Look at that. Alright. I'm not going to keep doing that to try to get a number in the middle. Mathematically, it all checks out. So, without equipping... Hello, person. New person that joined. And thank you, person that has been watching. So we figured out some information on Gate to the Void. And here are the summaries. Maintaining the same magic attack, meaning when you equip one of these pieces, you lose 3000 magic attack and defense. If you offset it by equipping whatever items you need, like magic attack up or attack up, you gain 30% more damage, and it stacks multiplicatively with other Gate to the Void buffs. So normally you'd think, okay, well 30% plus 30%, that'd be 60%. No. It is, and I wrote it down already. I ought to just keep it right here, a little tooltip. So the first one is 30% more, and the second one is 6.9. 3, so it's like 70% more damage. I mean, I'm rounding down 1, but 70% more damage from 2 of these pieces is kind of insane. So if you had a counter level 3 buff, and based on my previous damage testing, it increases your damage by 40%. If you had counter trigger with 2 of these pieces, instead of it doing the normal 40% bonus damage, so let's say you were hitting 10 billion, then you'd be hitting 14. With 2 of these pieces, you'd be hitting for 23.6 billion. It's a pretty significant amount. So the next thing we're going to do is rework my entire set because I butchered it. So change my buffs back. And then we're going to test counter. And we're going to see how counter works with the Super Regeneration buff of the Hydra Superior helmet, which also has a counter type buff. Inflict more damage for 3 seconds after receiving damage. since we already know what the baseline damage numbers can be, whoops, sorry Killa. Since we already know what the baseline numbers can be, we have a range. And that's going to help us out with the counter buff because it's going to be harder to test that since I have to get whacked first. For this test, obviously I'm taking off the fancy shield. I don't have a removable counter buff level 3. There we go. What did I have on here before? Brute, Demon, Shock Crusher. That's what I want. I'm running out of gold messing with these pieces of gear. Putting them back and forth. I could put my magic tech on that for now, but I don't need it. Fighting Bloodlord on death. It helps having a little bit more healing. Alright, that's that. Store requests. Make sure I set it to private so people don't get upset that I leave. Alright, first things first. Take you off. And you off. Alright, so now I'm back to the 17,870 magic attack. So the pieces that I will be equipping don't have any buffs on them now. See, that doesn't have any magic attack. And the Hydra head also does not have any straight up magic attack. So we're not going to have it influenced and messed up from those numbers. Just for a point of reference, I'm going to do one more damage test even though we know the range should be between 440 and 528. Just make sure I didn't mess up something and put a buff in a place it shouldn't be. And welcome to my damage testing channel, people who have joined. I'm putting this on YouTube later, so you're going to have to deal with my commentary more than once. Aren't you excited? Alright. 444, 462, 444, 444, 466, 440, so we had the lowest number again. At 449. Let me put in 446. 444. That was already in there. Okay. So now we know the numbers haven't changed. We can expect it to be viable. So what we got to do is test damage numbers from just one of the items, and then the other item, and then together to see if they multiply or if they just add. I'm kind of excited if they multiply, because that means you can have a pseudo counter build for a mage. Which also means if you have the shield or a buff that has the counter on it, if you have the new shield and then you throw counter on top of that, and then you have the helmet for the mage and the accessory with the gate to the void, you can hit some serious numbers. 748. 748. Let's put that down. You'd think that I would put some of these numbers or put my spreadsheet in a way that it would be easy to... No. Okay. Oh, that's right. I gotta get hit. 76. 763, 18, 748, 76. Alright, leave him alone. Come on, one more smack. You know one. I knew I'd get something new from that one. You might be wondering why am I not testing on those enemies over there? Because I don't have damage up versus elemental weakness. I mean, I do. I have damage up versus elemental weakness, and they are non-elemental. So it would throw off all the damage because the downside of this buff is it makes me do less damage when I'm not hitting them with their elemental weakness. And since they're non-elemental, I'm not hitting them with their elemental weakness. Alright, so I'm cleaning up my spreadsheet a little bit so I know what's going on. This is all theoretical data, so I will leave it next to the actual data. I don't know why Excel is giving me difficulties trying to copy a column. Oh well. I'll make do. Cool. And I died. That's what I get for being AFK while I'm trying to do testing. Alright. 2 pieces. Alright, cool. Let's do this. I'm making notes so I know what testing I've already done, and so the values that I'm recording make sense and I'm not confusing the sets. As I'm putting everything in columns in a spreadsheet, it'll confuse me pretty quickly if I don't put column headers. I'm wondering what counter level 4 and 5 offer versus level 3, but since I've played 10-3 like 600 times and haven't gotten the Shield of Disgrace hero to drop, I can't test that. Or I can't test it easily. We're 748. 815, 853, 778, that's a new one. 771, that's a new one. Really? I didn't get hit out of all of that. Yes! I have escaped the clutches of the evil loading screen. So I haven't done any predictive math on this one. I'm just curious about what the values can be. And I'm kind of waiting to see some actual data before coming to calculative conclusions. But so far it seems pretty good. We have one of the pieces, sorry, we don't have any of the pieces of Gate to the Void, and yet the damage numbers seem very close to what it was like with those. So not a 40% bonus, a 70% bonus with a counter level 3. And I don't have any more magic attacks than I did before, and since I haven't leveled up this whole time, we can assume that that is not increasing the damage I'm doing to enemies. 70% is pretty nice. 748, 771, 786, that's new. Oops, don't put it over there. 18, we've already seen that. 898, that's probably our cap. Which means we're only missing 2 data points. already had that one. So previously, my calculation was based off of it being about 40%. So if I just quickly edit that to 70%, two of the pieces plus a counter level 3 buff would multiply your damage by 2.9, 2.873. So almost triple damage from having two of those buff pieces on and getting smacked first. That's not including like cheer, blessed weapon, higher level character, so you can really stack a lot of damage with this. I need those missing data points. Actually, I'm only missing one now. So I need something between 763 and 771. Already got that. Quit running while I'm trying to hit you. 778. Ready? Yeah, I already had that one. Technically, it doesn't have to be between 763 and 771. So let me do my quick math. Divided by this. So definitely 898 is our max damage. Which means I can fill in the rest of the data from this. So yeah, it's a solid 70%. 1.7 is the multiplier, not like 1.69 with rounding. Now, the number might actually come out a little bit different based on other factors, but... So, we were actually looking for like an 808. That's the number I was missing. The rest were fine. I just didn't have them in the right spots. And also a 792. Alright, well anyways, let's go. I can deal with the numbers later. I just need to put in some more columns. Insert. Now we're going to be testing the helmet with Super Regeneration. I'm excited about this. I'm especially excited to see if they multiply. But then again, I mean, I've only said that 15 times, right? Okay, so again, I don't have any math prepared for this, calculations or anything like that. I can fill in some of the data once I get a couple of numbers and I know where they fall on the range. I love the poison mist stuff. 616, 622. $628, $647. $635. You can see how fast counter wears off. It does not last very long. Some people think it's like 8 seconds, but no, it's you gotta hit them right after you get hit. 671, 659. Already got 671. 671. Okay. $616 is probably our lowest number. Which means it is a 40% increase of damage for this. For the helmet. So I can extrapolate the data from that and figure out what the other values should be so I know the approximate range. So 671 was our second highest. Our highest would be 739, it looks like. Whoops. 628, 622. Yeah, so due to rounding, all these numbers are coming out to be identical. That means we're missing like a 634 and a 652 and the 739. So let's see if we can get some of those numbers just so we have solid data. Solid, full, complete sets of data. 634, 652, 739. It's nice knowing it's a 40% bonus, like a solid 40% from a helmet, but you have to get hit first. Hello, people who have joined. Welcome. Doing a little bit of damage testing today. You're gonna freak out. I'm gonna post something on Reddit, and I'm also gonna include a link. Sorry, description of the testing that was done. 641. I already got that one. 634 is what I'm looking for. 739. There's the max damage. I promise you guys, and it comes out that my math was correct. Oh, I didn't get damage. 659. That was not one of the numbers. 650. Another 739. Look at that. Bad face. So, without knowing how they calculate in, I can't tell you how much damage we would get from having 2 pieces of the Void, plus counter level 3 on your shield, and the Super Regeneration helmet. However, if they stack multiplicatively, it'll give you, from your base being 1, or let's say you're hitting for 1,000, you'd instead be hitting for 4,000. It would multiply your damage by 4. Which is pretty nice. Four times more damage, I'll take that. After you get to max score. 653. Alright, that was one of the numbers we're looking for, so rounding, that put it up a little bit higher than I was thinking. 630. 635! Wait, so no, I'm looking for 630. I don't know. I love seeing the 739 pop up. Alright, well, we have an almost complete data set. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. Since mathematically and due to rounding, I'm only coming up one number off between calculations. I have several sets of data where they're missing. Well, some of them have missing values, but since I know the baseline and I'm doing calculations and predicting what they are, and they keep coming up just off by one number from rounding, I know that the base numbers that I have are the full set. And if I miss a number, I still have enough to infer accurately. Alright, there we go. So that's a 21. There's a 10 to 8. 100. 148. 1069. I can't get hit. So that's 1089. 1079. 1162. I'll let you stay over there. I don't feel like restarting. Okay, there we go. So it looks like pretty good numbers so far. The lowest damage I've gotten to this point is 1,058,000, so 1058. Remember, our lowest possible hit was 440 without the two sets. Right now I'm testing counter level 3 and Super Regeneration, which is on the helmet. So we know counter level 3 is a 70% damage bonus. Super Regeneration is a 40%. So we're now testing to see if they add or multiply. I didn't get hit at all during this. How does it go? 1089. Don't run at me. I can't test if you do. 1131. That new one? Yeah, that's... 10048, so that's a new low. 1682, that's probably our high. Getting some interesting values. They're not really lining up as much with the previous calculations. I don't know, because I haven't done any predictive formulas yet to see what the values ought to be. But I'm doing that now. So let's see. I'm definitely going to have to test this a couple different times because I'm not sure I got the 1682 correct. Part of the reason I'm making a stream is so I can go back and review the footage and verify the calculations. But it looks like a 2.38 multiplier between having counter and then adding the Super Regeneration buff. So remember, we have 70% and 40%, so it should be 1.1 times damage. But we're getting 1.38 or 2.38. Is someone here? 1257. Maybe I should just stand still, and that way they can hit me. 1142 is the highest out of that. I saw 257 this time, so maybe the 682 was hitting from behind, because 1257 seems like it's high enough to be the max, what it ought to be based on the formula. Yeah, that falls in line with the 2.38. So based on my calculations, base values, 1142, 731. Interesting. Based values. Okay, so let's see. Doing some inferences. So an 1110 looks like I am missing one of those, and I got the rest of the numbers spot on. Due to rounding, it's off by 1 point again, as usual. Over here it's showing 1140.89, and we know I hit for 1142, so that's saying 1141. I mean, it's still rounding up, and then it's 1 point off from the rounded amount. I don't know why I hit the 1600. Maybe I did hit something from the back, but I haven't noticed it really affecting my damage in this. I know Warrior seems to have a higher multiplier on their ambush attack than other classes, meaning they do more damage when they hit from behind than other classes can if the skills did the same amount. Another 1250. What am I looking for? Oh yeah. 111. Ah, nothing. Oh well, I have enough to finish up my map. Game, yes. Now this is not even including like rage power. I did some damage testing earlier on Warrior to see if Destructive Impulse would stack. Here, I'll just show you. So I have Furious Defiler, which has Overflowing Rage. Now, I don't know what Rage Power Up Level 3 does, but I do have Rage Power Up Level 2. So what I wanted to test was, is Overflowing Rage, which is, people say it's like Rage Power Up 3.5, we just know it increases rage damage. So is that 1 plus damage to rage better than the Super Alloy Disc, which has increases damage dealt while in Super and Hyper mode for Destructive Impulse, plus a Rage Power 2. And from what I tested, it does increase my damage. I don't remember the exact numbers. I want to say 8% more damage, but the trade-off is you don't have the Rage AP recovery up that the Furious Defiler gives you, and you don't have as much space to put things like Conserve AP and Conserve Rage. I mean, it looks like it. You could, but if you're trying to get more damage from using a different helmet, then of course you're going to want to put on Attack Up to get more damage. which means it changes the build a little bit. For max damage, definitely is stronger to do it without the Furious Defiler, but then you're going to run into rage issues pretty quick. Anyways. So that may be it for the damage testing today. Let's do a quick recap, figure out how much more damage this actually does. Equals that times 1.7 times 1.4. So yeah, the damage buff from counter and from the helmet multiply. Straight across the board. So instead of it being 1.7 and 1.4, we get... No, stop it, Excel. 1.4. So it's 2.38. So almost 2.4 times more damage from having the helmet on a mage and getting hit. And then also the shield. Doesn't really seem like it lasts for 3 seconds though. It seems faster than that. I don't know. So with the assumption before being accurate that it multiplies your damage, if you had a Gate of the Void shield with counter level 3, you're playing as a mage, and you also put on the Super Regeneration helmet without considering any other buffs, you get hit and you hit back, you're hitting for 4 times damage. So if you're normally hitting for 500k, you just hit for 2 million. And then, you know, obviously it keeps going up, things like Shock Crusher, Snowman Crusher, that kind of stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be posting it on YouTube at some point in the next day or two. I just want to get all the numbers lined up and looking pretty, and not just crammed together in a spreadsheet, so people can see the results, like, and do test themselves and be able to verify it. So thanks for watching.